This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review Amazon, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Check us out, and we're also on that Instagram at That Guy Jig. The NBA season is in full steam, folks. Full steam ahead. If you're contending, you're contending. If you're pretending, you're getting ready for the draft. And that's where we are, folks. If you're in the Western Conference, you don't have a day off. You get no PTO. It's time to go. Every single day, every game matters. That's where we are in the Western Conference. If you're in the East, life's a little bit better. You know, if you're a top seed in the East, you have a little room to play. Boston is 8 games ahead of the second place in the East. Boston has a little bit of a lead. Do we believe Boston is for real? No, I do not. And if you've been listening consistently, you know how I feel about those Celtics. You can't make average three-point shooters shoot 45 threes a game and think you're going to be successful in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. But I love what they're doing. 50 wins, the first time since 2018. It's happened this fast, this soon. The last time those Celtics won 50 games this fast, this soon, they indeed hoisted up the trophy at the end of the season. But that's when they played a little bit different. They played a little bit different back then. You know, they made it to the finals. But this team is just a little bit different. It's a little bit different. Porzingis is hurt right now. If he can't stay healthy, which has been his biggest problem in the NBA, is staying healthy, then Boston Celtics are not for real. They are not for real. The Milwaukee Bucks are starting to turn a corner. But once again, if you've been listening, what do I say about the Bucks? They got a 1-year break. However far the Milwaukee Bucks make it this year, is an accomplishment. Because you got a new coach, you brought in a new superstar, and not to mention you brought in a new coach after the head coach was winning halfway through the season. So Doc Rivers has these guys playing better. You bring in Patrick Beverley for that extra spark. Now you have two of the most fan favorite players in the NBA on your team. Now, if you're playing against the Bucks, you hate Bobby Portis, you hate Patrick Beverley for true. Bobby Portis, his eyes scare you. He kind of has the Bernie Mac eye build, where when you look at him, you don't know if he's mad, but you know you don't want to trifle with that fella. Patrick Beverley, on the other hand, he's like a fly at a barbecue, just bugging the shit out of you. But if he's on your team, you love it. You love it because you know he's gonna get under people's skin. You know he's gonna do his thing. But if you're playing against him, you hate him. But that's what the Bucks have. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, they round out the top 4. Both of those teams are struggling right now, coming off of the injury bug. The injury bug is a sickness that hits teams randomly. It's like the flu. It's like COVID, but except everybody thinks it's real. When the injury bug hits, you know, because teams are rolling. The New York Knicks were rolling. They made that trade for Boban Bogdanovic. They got Boban, they got OG Anunoby, and we're looking at this New York Knicks team like, OMG, they are for real. Tom Thibodeau finally has his defensive philosophy team where he has 2 wing defenders that can guard pretty much anyone in the NBA for 4 quarters. Now, I'm not saying OG Anunoby's stopping anybody, but he's definitely going to make life harder for any NBA superstar that he is guarding. But the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers have got to get healthy. We are on the home stretch here, folks. Depending on your team, you got 15 to 17 games left. This is the home stretch. This is where teams can turn dreams into reality. Or, if you can't stop your wrongs, if you can't right your wrongs, this is where reality finally sets in that we suck and we're not going to be as successful as we thought we were. So it's time for us to start planning for the future. The Pacers, the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks round out the bottom half of the play-in for the Eastern Conference. And if you're the Pacers, you kind of feel in between right now. You made that trade for Pascal Siakam. You brought him in because you thought maybe you could re-sign him for the offseason, pair him with Tyrese Halliburton, and that could be probably your 2 superstars. That's what you were thinking. But with finishing inside of the play-in, I don't know if you can give someone a max contract and then keep them. I mean, if we're talking about we're in a solid playoff spot, if the Pacers can get to that sixth, fifth spot, I understand. I understand what you're doing. But why are we re-signing players to max contracts to go to the play-in? That don't make no sense. The only team in this play-in situation that I feel is truly comfortable with being in this play-in situation is the Miami Heat, because of what they've done over the past couple seasons with being a low seed, making a deep playoff run, showing the world it's not about what seed you are, but how you handle your opponents. Because you got to play the best of the best, sir, with honors. If you want to win an NBA championship, you got to go through the juggernauts. There's only been, a few NBA champions that never had to go through juggernauts, and they still get ridiculed till this day. So my point being about all this is that Miami Heat are very, very comfortable with being in this play-in situation. They added talent. They're waiting on Tyler Hero to get back. Terry Rozier was added. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Hawkes. These guys are a solid team. But I wonder if all this extra mileage is going to take a toll. Because you got to understand, when you consistently go to the play-in tournament, when you're consistently in the play-in, when you're consistently barely making playoffs, what happens is you have to play extra games. You have to go extra mileage. And, you guys may say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. These are professional athletes. The hell it doesn't. If you didn't watch the NBA Finals last year and watch the Miami Heat versus the Denver Nuggets and you didn't see a little fatigue in Jimmy Butler when they played the Denver Nuggets, especially when they went up to the Mile High City, then I don't know if we can talk sports. Because at this point, you don't like reality. The reality of the situation is that when you play these extra games, when you play these grueling playoff schedules, when you're going one city 2 days, and then you got a day or two in between, and then you're in the next city. And then after that, it's one day here, one day there, one day here, one day there. You're going to and fro. And that adds up on the body, folks. So that's why you look at Jimmy Butler last year in the NBA Finals especially, and his numbers were down. I don't think it has anything to do with the Nuggets were doing anything spectacular defensively. They didn't have a super great game plan. It was just lock the fuck in on defense. Jimmy Butler was tired. He's carried this team for 3 fucking series. 4 if you include the play-in. So my point is, will the Miami Heat be able to do that again this year? Because teams are going to be expecting you. It's easy to surprise teams, but teams are going to be, expecting you now. Case in point, CJ Stroud, different sport, but the same situation. He took the NFL by storm. Rookie year, showed the fuck out. Got the Houston Texans further than they've been in a long time. You don't think the NFL is about to key in on his ass? It's gonna be a little different for CJ Stroud next year. I'm not saying he won't be successful. Don't ever think I'm saying that. But what I'm saying is it's going to be a little different. Because teams know what you can do. Teams have a full year of film. So now teams know about Miami Heat. And if you don't know, well, then they're going to bite you in the ass. But I'm almost willing to guarantee every playoff team knows what the Miami Heat are capable of, especially those fucks up there in Boston. Especially the Celtics. The Celtics especially know about Miami. Philadelphia 76ers definitely know about Miami. And the 76ers at this point, switching on over to them, Nick Nurse, they blame Doc Rivers for the unsuccessfulness of this team. I want to know who's going to get blamed for this one. Because like I've said before, if you cannot win with James Harden, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, then how in Zeus's asshole are you going to win without James Harden? Ben Simmons, he don't care where he at, he's not playing. So I get that. But if James Harden and Joel Embiid was not enough to lead you to an NBA Finals, there is no way that Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid will be enough. There's just no way. The math's not mathing. 2 plus 2 does not give me 4. It doesn't add up, folks. And with Joel Embiid being injured for this long, and with your team being this bad, do you even bring him back? Or do you just shut him down? You shut him down, you bring him back next season, you go into the offseason prepping and preparing. You get some free agents, you got a little bread, maybe you trade some folks. Remember, a guy like Tobias Harris, who can get you 15, 5, and 4, who can fill up the stat sheet for you, who can defend 1 through 4, and depending on who you play, 1 through 5. A guy like Tobias Harris can get you valuable assets because there's a team out there that could use a Tobias Harris. The Kings could use a Tobias Harris. The Mavericks could use a Tobias Harris. The Thunder could use a Tobias Harris. There are teams out there, especially in the West, because, you don't want to trade a good player in the same conference. You damn sure don't want to trade him in the same division. So send his ass out west. Utah has some assets. You never know what a Tobias Harris and a couple picks can get you. But what I'm saying is that the Philadelphia 76ers are in no man's land right now. They are currently in that 5-6 spot. I don't know how long it's going to last. They are not a very competitive team without Joel Embiid. I mean, the last 2 games they've played have been under 100 points. They haven't put up 100 points in the last 2 games. That is alarming, folks. That is alarming. We're talking about 25 points per quarter. We're talking about 13 made baskets per quarter. That's what we're talking about. So my point being is, if you can't sustain, if you can't be competitive without your best player, then what the hell are you doing bringing your best player back and trying to dig you out this hole? He was already hurt trying to carry this franchise. Yes, Joel Embiid has had a crazy injury-riddled career. Crazy. This is no humbug. This is no smoke and mirrors. This is real deal, no pickle. Joel Embiid has had an injury-riddled career. And now, when he's probably playing the best basketball of his career, when he's averaging 30 points, when he's showing the world the big man does exist, he gets hurt. This isn't new. The guy gets hurt. Where there's an Anthony Davis street clothes, there is a Joel Embiid street juggler. If they're both street people, then he's a street juggler. He does street tricks for you. He's the homeless man that juggles at the stoplight. If that's what we're doing, because Joel Embiid's been hurt just as much as Anthony Davis. The difference between Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid is that Anthony Davis plays with LeBron James. Anthony Davis has a championship because he plays with LeBron James. And yes, that championship was the hardest championship in the world in the bubble, where everybody played. I hope you hear my sarcasm. Because the bubble was not the hardest NBA championship, because not everybody in the NBA played in that in that playoff series. If you do remember, most of the Los Angeles Clippers, who were projected to win the championship that year, they opted out. They did not play in the bubble. If you remember, TJ Warren, who has not played since the Bush administration, was one of the top leading scorers in the bubble. But this was the toughest NBA championship we've ever seen. Oh, we had to live in the Disney resort with all the amenities, with all this room service, first class shit, while the rest of us, we were on true lockdown. But this was pure basketball, folks. The arenas were packed with 12 people. I mean, you couldn't even move in those arenas because all the 12 people were just in there going crazy. We got Russell Westbrook yelling at women and children, telling them, what the fuck did y'all think? That's how deeply rooted and competitive the bubble was. Your constant badgering from the fans came from mothers and children. But this was pure basketball at its highest form. There were more people at an AAU basketball tournament than at the bubble. AAU basketball, the Peach Jam. The Peach Jam. And I don't know if it's called the Peach Jam anymore. I might be showing my age. But the old Peach Jam for the AAU basketball had a higher average attendance than any game in the bubble. So don't talk to me about hard. Don't talk to me about playing through adversity. Don't talk to me about that crap. But that's the difference. That's the difference. AD got the chip. Joel Embiid doesn't. Joel Embiid has never been to an NBA Finals. And that's where I personally draw the line between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. There is no comparison to me. Nikola Jokic has a chip with a dip on it. He has MVPs. He's been to multiple Western Conference Finals. There is no comparison. But there is a comparison for Joel Embiid, and that's he needs another superstar. You have to get him another player. Tyrese Maxey is good. He's solid. You like to have him. But Tyrese Maxey is not going to lead your team to an NBA championship. If you don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Because if Tyrese Maxey was truly Himothy, if Tyrese Maxey was really him, the 76ers wouldn't even be into consideration. It wouldn't even be thought or brought up to actually bench Joel. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty. If you don't believe me, look at the evidence. Why would people even be talking about benching Joel Embiid for the rest of the season if Tyrese Maxey was truly him? He's not. He's a good third option on a great team. Second option, you're not going to get far. Unless they bring in more players to build around them. They have to bring in more. Moving on to the Western Conference play-in, where this play-in situation is insane because whoever comes out of this play-in and you're in the playoffs, you do not want to play these teams. Golden State, the Lakers, Dallas, and Sacramento are all in the play-in. Sacramento just beat the Lakers again last night, I think for the 10th straight time. Between the Denver Nuggets and the Sacramento Kings, the Los Angeles Lakers do not know how to win. These are two teams that they cannot beat. And it's very interesting because these are two teams that are built the same. They have two superstars and they have players that they fill in around them to generate points. Think about it. Nikola Jokic and Sabonis are the same player. Not the same skill set, they're the same player. Their offenses run through them. De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray, Batman's Robin. Both could be bona fide superstars on their own team. Now, I get it. The Fox probably takes a little more points. Takes a little more shots than Jamal does because of the Kings. But when I say the offense runs through Sabonis, Sabonis is setting up the offense. He is setting up the table for people. You look at Keegan Murray. You look at Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes. You look at Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, I get it. The Nuggets have a little more talent. I'm not saying they're the exact talent level, but this is the same build. This is the same mold. The Kings looked at the Nuggets and said, holy shit, let me try that. And that's what they're doing. They're trying it. But the Nuggets, I just don't think people understand, the Nuggets have 3 lottery picks on their team. Aaron Gordon was a second overall pick. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was a lottery pick out the University of Georgia. Michael Porter Jr. was supposed to be a lottery pick, folks. Let's not make any mistakes about it. If Michael Porter Jr. doesn't have 2 back surgeries, he's probably the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. There is a fella from the University of Missouri who went there the same time as Michael Porter Jr. And he said that practices were called up after 20 minutes. They ended practice after 20 minutes because nobody could guard Michael Porter Jr. If you haven't seen MPJ's high school highlight tapes, go watch them. Go watch them. The guy's a fucking bucket. He's a walking bucket. And the Denver Nuggets got lucky. The basketball gods shined a little light on them, and they were able to get Michael Porter Jr. And then you still have Jamal Murray, lottery pick. I mean, the Nuggets team is a team of people who have reached the potential in which they were supposed to reach. And that's what the Sacramento Kings are chasing. They're chasing something like that. You got Keegan Murray. He's no Michael Porter Jr. He's more of a Swiss Army knife. He can rebound, he can defend, he can shoot. Kevin Huerter, shooter. Harrison Barnes, fill-in guy, does it all. You're probably going to have to get a Harrison Barnes up out of there to bring in somebody else in. But with the teams that are presently constructed, nobody wants to play these 4 teams. You don't want to play Golden State. I know Steph Curry's hurt right now, but nobody wants to play Stephen Curry for 4 games, 5 games, 7-game series. That's not what you want. Dallas is rolling right now. They got Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively to catch the lobs from Luka and Kyrie. Luka and Kyrie are going to be a deadly, deadly combination come playoffs because their coach is Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd is a very successful NBA basketball player. He knows the difference between regular season and playoffs. And that's what I'm trying, and that's what I try to portray, the big difference in playoffs and regular season. And that's why you don't want to play the Dallas Mavericks, because they have 2 guys that can give them 30. They can give them 40. I mean, we've seen Kyrie Irving in the playoffs, man. We've seen playoff Kyrie. We already know he has the greatest handles to ever touch a basketball. We all know this. If you want to argue, just go ahead and put it in the comments. But what I'm telling you is the Kings, the Dallas Mavericks, the Lakers are pretty deep right now. Especially if they can get Gabe, I can't make a shot Vincent, even though that's what you paid me for. I mean, you paid Gabe Vincent to play basketball, and he hasn't played a lick of basketball. Listen, I can do what Gabe Vincent's done for you. Hey, Rob Pelinka, Los Angeles Lakers. If you need somebody just to take up cap space and not to play a single minute, I can do that. I can do that. I can do it better than him. I'll give the other players water. I'll hand out towels. I'll be better than Gabe Vincent. I'll tie people's shoes for the contract that he got and not play? My God. What a deal. What a deal. Deal or no deal. I want that deal. But you don't want to play the Lakers. You don't want to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the 7-game series. Definitely don't want to play the Kings. And you don't want to play Golden State or Dallas. The funny thing about this whole situation is that Golden State, not Golden State, the Phoenix Suns are in the 6th spot right now. The Phoenix Suns are also only 2 games ahead of the Sacramento Kings. So if they don't figure it out, if one of these play-in teams get hot, the Phoenix Suns could find themselves in the play-in with 3 bona fide superstars. But we all know what the Phoenix Suns' problem is. They have no ball handling. They have no legs. They have no legs. They have no ball handling, folks. And I know people say it's a positionless league, Jig. It's a positionless league. It's a positionless league when you have players that are positionless. If you don't have a positionless player, it's not a positionless league. What the hell are we talking about? You think anybody else for the Thunder are running point besides Shea? It's not a positionless league. If it was a positionless league, more teams would be doing this, but you can't. The Nuggets can get away with it. They have Nikola Jokic. The Lakers can get away with it. They have LeBron James. The Thunder, they have Shea. The Timberwolves, you think they're playing positionless basketball? No, they have Mike Conley, a true point guard. The Clippers, they have a true point guard. His name is James Harden. Now, I know he came in as a 2-guard with the Thunder and all that jazz, but you got to understand what the Thunder were doing with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was a project, a successful project. They took an athletic guard who mostly played off the ball in college, and they put the ball in his hands full time. And they said, Russell Westbrook, we want you to learn to be a point guard. Russell Westbrook said, hold my beer, no problem. I want generational wealth. I want to make my family's situation better. Watch what I can do. Look at the New York Knicks. Do they play positionless basketball? Fuck no, they don't. Jalen Brunson is your point guard. Cleveland, Darius Garland, point guard. Milwaukee Bucks, Dame Lillard, point guard. Boston Celtics went out and got them a point guard because they had no ball handlers. That's why they got beat last year. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because that's what everybody figured out. Jaylen Brown couldn't go left because they tried to put the ball in his hands to be the point guard because of air quotations, positionless basketball, aka a crock of shit. Positionless basketball only works when you have the elite of the elite, the best of the best, sir, with honors. You can't do that if you do not have. Look at the Boston Celtics. That's why they went out and got Jrue Holiday, because they needed a point guard. When the Milwaukee Bucks won their championship, when was that? Don't worry, I'll wait. I can't wait too long, so I'm going to tell you. It's when they got Jrue Holiday, a true point guard. You need a point guard. You need someone who can settle shit down when shit gets real, get everybody in their right spots, put the ball where it needs to go. You need that, folks. You need that. Moving on from all this playoff talk, we're going to talk about the losers of the league. The guys that are planning for the draft. The people that when their fans talk shit, you don't really take them seriously. Because you know what, dude? You're a lottery team, bud. There's not too much you can say to me, bud. Because you're a lottery pick. And guess what? The NBA lottery, it ain't the same as the NFL. You would think the worst team would get the best pick. No, sir. No, sir. And yes, there's a chance the Spurs can get back-to-back first-round number one picks. Right now, we got 3 foreigners, 3 Europeans. These guys are coming in to change the league next year. One from France, one from Australia, and one from Serbia. The European influence in the NBA is going to get more and more prevalent. If you don't believe me, just watch. That's why the game is officiated the way it is. It's outside of like travel calls and double dribbles and all that stuff. The NBA is being called more and more like European basketball. Why? Because they want the European player in America. If you remember in the 90s, and the early aughts, there was a stigma about European players in that they were soft, that they couldn't handle the physicality of the game. That's why Victor Wembanyama went through that same shit when he was getting drafted. The NBA's too physical. That's what they said. Because that's what the old head commentators have been saying since the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The European player, they can shoot. That's about it. Peja Stojakovic, what was he known for? Shooting. Andrei Karolinko, what was he known for? Shooting, a little bit of defense. Manu Ginobili, what was he known for? Shooting. Tony Parker played a different style of basketball. He wasn't a great shooter, but he was a great distributor of the ball. Look at Luka, great distributor of the ball. Look at Nikola Jokic, great distributor of the ball. This is real. This is real life, I'm telling you right now. The NBA has the rules have changed in favor of the athlete, in favor of the more athletic player that is in the NBA today. But they've also changed because they want the influence of European players. Because when you have European players, when you have a guy like Nikola Jokic, the country of Serbia, the whole country is Denver Nuggets fans. They don't know another team. And that's what the NBA wants. Because you know why? That's money. That's international money. And that's why you look in college, for example, you see a lot more European college players coming over. You got more of more African players leaving the continent of Africa and coming to play basketball in college in America, because the NBA has set up farm leagues all across the world. They have an ambassadorship in Africa, China. They have one in Europe. They have them because they want to expand the game of basketball worldwide. And that's why you have 3 top picks being all Europeans. Not because these guys can't play. It's not because these guys are overrated. It's not because the NBA is trying to sell the European player. These guys could actually play. They're actually good. And that's what I believe you're going to start seeing in America. Is you're going to start, like when the NILs talk start dying down, when people start realizing what's really going on with sports, we'll start to see that we are becoming more like Europe when it comes to sports. These college institutions will become more like farm league schools where they can all get paid and they can go straight to the pros. And that's even if the NBA doesn't start expanding to where high school players can come straight out of high school. Because if you're good at basketball, if you're great at basketball, I understand you need to have something to lean on. You need something to fall back on. But you know what? If there's a kid out there and we all look at this kid and we say this guy is going to play basketball, then why the hell is the kid not playing basketball? Lionel Messi was playing professional soccer at 12 years old. He is the greatest soccer player the world has ever seen in some opinions. Cristiano Ronaldo, the same thing. Neymar, the same thing. Mbappe, the same thing. All the world-class soccer players have been playing professional soccer at a young age. And that's the same thing with hockey in some countries. It's only a matter of time before the big thumb in which what's been pressing down on athletics in this country is removed. Because eventually it's going to become like that, where if a kid is 6'7" and he's 12 years old, guess what? This kid's not going to normal school. He's going to go to school, but he's going to be trained and prepared to play basketball for the rest of his life. His family will be taken care of. His schooling will be taken care of. Everything will be taken care of because this kid is above average in something and we can hone this skill. It's the same thing with Votex, people. When there's kids in school that that are more mechanically inclined, they send them to these schools to get pickup trades. Because you know what? Kid, you're probably not going to make it outside of it. You got to hone his skills in. You got to hone people's skills. And that's what's going to happen in the NBA eventually. But overall, the Pistons got 2 first-round picks. The Thunder could be up there with a couple first-round picks, which is crazy because the Thunder are tied for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference right now. But they could also get 2 lottery picks. The Pistons got 2, like I said. The Spurs have 2. Memphis is up there. The Rockets are up there. The Wizards are up there. The Hornets are up there. So these are the teams. We know who you are. You know who you are because we smelled you when you walked through the door because you stink. So we know who's going to be in the lottery. I personally like Rob Dillingham. I think he is the most NBA-ready player I've seen in college. I mean, the guy, he can get any shot he wants. He's a 3-level scorer. He's a great distributor. Solid on defense. He probably plays as much defense as Kobe White or anybody else in the NBA right now. So I like the guy. But I also like you, the listeners, the subscribers, the viewers, the people that make it fun for me to do what I do when I do what I do. And I appreciate you, and I'm thankful for you. And this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast, and I am him, J-I-G. Subscribe, rate, and review, and please subscribe, rate, and review. But if you don't, and you can't, just tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and that way we can be friends. The college basketball prop bets are going up pretty much every week on the Instagram. We drop at least 4 to 5 picks a week. Make sure you follow that Instagram at That Guy Jig. And once again, I am him, J-I-G. Peace.